What's up, YouTube? It's Nerdy, and welcome back to Transmissions Draft League, Season number 4. We are already moving into yet another week of the Draft League. Today we have got a very special rematch versus Tensor's 10-star team. Already in week number 2, we are playing against the defending Grand Champion from Season 3. Of course, we were the runner-up there, so this is a chance to win back some honor. But today we are actually going to be team building for this. I did this in the past where I kind of let you in on some of the thoughts and ideas that I have while building. So we're going to be starting from scratch here. And yeah, let's build a team. So, like I've mentioned in the past, the first thing that I like to have up is, of course, the team builder, but I also like to have the document over on my second screen so that I can see both my Pokemon and my opponent's Pokemon. And then I also like to have a damage calculator just in case I want to get into the nitty-gritty of things that I want to be prepared for. So as a quick reminder, our team is Indeedee Female, Iron Crown, Talonflame, Hariyama, Ogerpon Cornerstone, Grafaiai, Squawkabilly, Duosion, Algrame, and Haxorus. Tensor's team is Tornadus Incarnate, Goldengo, Incineroar, Azumarill, Rotom Wash, Clodsire, Electabuzz, Kleavor, Frostlass, and Dene. So when we are getting into this build, I like to first decide what I want to build for. And I think that the 6 that we should be the most prepared for are, of course, Tornadus, Goldengo, Incineroar, Azumarill, Electabuzz, and then in my opinion, it's probably got to be the Frostlass here. He could also choose the Rotom Wash. Kleavor is probably not very likely. It has a really bad typing and has really low special defense. Clodsire also instantaneously loses to Psychic Spam. And Dene is pretty useless when Psychic Terrain is up and it's not able to use Fake Out. So those are the ones that we want to prep for. And yeah, let's go ahead and get on into it. So the first thing that I want to do is I actually want to build our Iron Crown first. And that is because actually Iron Crown tends to actually match up really well into these Incineroar balance teams. It has a really great defensive profile, and using a Terra to get a coverage move for something like Incineroar, and in this case we'll also be able to get a coverage move for Goldengo. Iron Crown will be able to deal really good damage this time around. So for the Terra type, I would actually like to choose Terra Ground. Now, of course, Terra Ground hits both the Incineroar and the Goldengo for Terra, but it also is not too shabby defensively. It doesn't give us any resistances that truly matter, and in all honesty, it does make us a little bit weaker to the Azumarill, but the Azumarill, in my opinion, is the least threatening of his big threats. And Iron Crown naturally can deal with the Azumarill because it's not that bulky especially. So before the Terra, we deal with Azumarill really nicely. After the Terra, we deal with Goldengo and Incineroar really nicely. With that being said, we are using Iron Crown very offensively, so I'm going to go with the Booster Energy here. The idea is that we really want Iron Crown to have as much special attack as possible, but then we are also doing our best to outspeed things like the Goldengo, and we are trying to deal as much damage as we can. So of course, our moveset is going to be pretty easy. We have Protect, Terra Blast, Expanding Force, and the Tachyon Cutter. Tachyon Cutter will be our strongest move when Psychic Terrain is not up. Expanding Force is of course our strongest against anything not a Dark type. And then Terra Blast is our strongest versus Goldengo and Incineroar, which normally actually match up really well into Iron Crown. After that, we can now just build our set to hopefully beat just about everything that our opponent wants to do. Let's go ahead and bring up Golden Go. And we're going to give this thing a timid nature. So we need 150 speed, so we're going to go max speed there. And then we have Terra Blast with a booster energy. And we are Terra Ground. So a Terra Ground Terra Blast should naturally KO a 0 bulk Golden Go. Let's go ahead and bring up a bulky Nasty Plot Golden Go. We're able to give ourselves some Modest here and a little bit of investment to guarantee the KO. We need Modest, not Naive, Modest, and 92 to guaranteed KO Golden Go. So with this set, so far what we can do is we can outspeed Golden Go no matter what, as long as we match Tailwinds. And we can also always KO most bulky Golden Go, guaranteed with a Terra Ground Terra Blast. Of course, this changes if Golden Go does Terra, although if Golden Go does Terra, Expanding Force suddenly becomes much stronger, and we are not super threatened by anything that Golden Go wants to do. The other reason why I really like Terra Ground here is because Golden Go's best coverage for Iron Crown after it Terras is probably going to be Thunderbolt, which of course Terra Ground does mitigate. There is an argument for Terra Water here, as it does preserve our good matchup versus Azumarill, but I actually prefer Terra Ground because it still hits the Golden Go super effectively and doesn't invite in anything from like the Electabuzz to mess with us. Now, as you can see, we still have a ton of points remaining, so I am going to creep us up to 176. This is a multiple of 16 for our HP stat. Normally, this doesn't really matter, but in this case, I am doing so just because we have this ability to, and now I am going to give ourselves just a little bit of special defense investment. This is for the corner cases where Golden Go has the choice specs and the Terra Steel, and we should be able to live anything that Pokemon can throw at us. Yeah, so with choice specs and Terra Steel, we actually guaranteed live a Make It Rain, and then like I said, we fire back a Terra Blast that always KOs it. So Iron Crown looking pretty solid there. Of course, the next Pokemon that has to be paired with it is Indeedee. Indeedee is obviously really solid in this matchup. And in my opinion, it's really easy for us to pick the Psychic Seed here. It helps us a lot versus Incineroar, which will want to use the knockoff into us. By not having an item, we actually reduce the amount of damage that can do. So if we bring up Indeedee here with the Psychic Seed, and then we bring up Incineroar, let's look at Bulky Rocky Helmet. Knockoff actually only does roughly 50% to us. The Terra type on this Indeedee doesn't really matter. I really would not like to go Terra Fairy just because of the Golden Go in the room. I am really considering a Terra Fire here. Basically any defensive type that gets rid of our Dark weakness and does not present us with a Steel weakness is preferred. I think I am going to choose probably Terra Water in this case. Indeedee can probably stomach a Thunderbolt from Golden Go much better than any of our other Pokemon can. And yeah, Thunderbolt is doing even less than Knockoff would have done to Indeedee without the Psychic Seed. So yeah, we should be looking great there. For Indeedee's moveset, I really like the ability to use Follow Me. I also like the ability to use Trick Room. Um, what this does is it basically says if our opponent wants to lead Tailwind, they at least have to think about whether or not they get to use it in front of Indeedee. This also allows us the ability to actually lead Iron Crown in Indeedee, so that if our opponent does, like I said, lead Tornadus, and we don't have the ability to automatically one-hit KO that Pokemon, we can actually force that Pokemon to use something like Tailwind in order to outspeed our Iron Crown, and then use Trick Room to guarantee to underspeed it. After that, the next moves are, like I said, not that important. I really would like to use Helping Hand. Some of the damage calcs for Iron Crown specifically, if I pull this back up, special attack booster, we are only 92 modest. Terra Ground. Let's go ahead and pull back up the Tornadus. And let's look at a bulky Tornadus set with a Helping Hand boost, Expanding Force, and Tachyon Cutter both manage to KO a physically bulky Tornadus. If we look at a little bit more specially bulky Tornadus, a max special defense Tornadus does have a chance to live that Expanding Force, but a Helping Hand Expanding Force does actually still have a role to KO even max special defense Tornadus, which is really nice. And for the last move, I would like some kind of spread move. There is also the option to go for something like Shadow Ball here, potentially to lower the Golden Go. I would not like to run Psychic just because if we are having trouble breaking through the Incineroar, that is something that could wall us. Although, in my opinion, I think we probably force the Terror on that Pokemon. So let's just go with the standard Dazzling Gleam here. Okay, so Indeedee is really capable of walling a lot here. Let's go ahead and try to find out how much bulk we need to get past an Incineroar. Let's look at an Assault Vest set versus Indeedee. So I would like this to at least be a roll to one-hit KO us, or two-hit KO us actually. So if we drop our bulk down just a little bit on this set. Alright, so it looks like we need near max physical bulk. And then we can invest some points into special defense there. Like I said, what this does is it allows us to tank hits from Golden Go super effectively, but we also have a roll to actually live two knockoffs from this Incineroar when using this set. And yeah, this is honestly a pretty good spot for Indeedee. What this also does is if we see Incineroar do a lot more than 50%, we know that it's attack invested. And if Incineroar is attack invested, then that means that Iron Crown probably has a much better chance to OHKO that Pokemon. The last Pokemon for this 3 Pokemon core is definitely got to be Talonflame. Of course, we do want to be able to match the Tailwinds of our opponent. And I'm going to go with Terra Ghost this time around because our opponent does have multiple Fake Outs. Like I said, we are trying to save our Terra for the Iron Crown, but at least being able to show our opponent that we can dodge Fake Outs is really good. We are also, in my opinion, I actually I think what we're going to go for is actually Terra Flying, and I am going to go for the Covert Cloak here. What this allows us to do is just ignore Fake Out altogether, so we don't even have to click Protect there, and it allows us to threaten things like a Terra Flying Brave Bird. Most important for this set is, of course, Tailwind. That is kind of all Talonflame needs to get done here. The other thing is I would like to see if we can speed creep the Tornadus. It does actually require Jolly from us, and we need to get to 180, which leaves us all of the rest of our stats to get this done. Perfect. Actually, I'm going to do a little bit of giving us 2 extra points for the price of 1. Okay. And then, like I said, we do want Brave Bird on this set. The rest of what Talonflame can do here is not that important. Will-O-Wisp is actually nice to have for something like the Azumarill or the Incineroar after it decides to Terra. We could also look at something like Feather Dance. There is also Quick Guard. There's not too much, honestly, that we need. I guess what we can look at is Golden Go. Let's see how much Talonflame can do to that with a Flare Blitz. And we are max attack, not adamant. Flare Blitz does actually have a chance to Oko the Golden Go. Let's say it's Terra Dragon. And we are Terra Flying. And let's look at Brave Bird. Even at Terra Flying, Brave Bird is only doing about 70%, so not that important there. Let's see. I do like having the ability to taunt things. It won't be as important this time around because Tornadus will be able to get its own Tailwind off, so it's more important for us to just match Tailwinds. In that case, I actually really like Feint. Yeah, let's go ahead and go for Feint. What Feint allows us to do is break through Protect. So a Pokemon using Wide Guard, which I'm not 100% certain that Tensor even has access to, but we can break through things like Wide Guard and Protect, which allows our much more powerful Iron Crown to get through. Now, we still have 3 Pokemon slots left and a lot that we can do with it. My mind obviously immediately goes to Ogerpon. Cornerstone is actually incredible in this specific matchup just because it hits everything on our opponent's team for super effective or neutral damage outside of Golden Go, which, like we said, we're going to be trying to force the Terra on with Iron Crown. And if Golden Go doesn't resist the Ivy Cudgel, it actually does take a fair amount from our Cornerstone. Because if it is Terra Dragon, the Ivy Cudgel actually does about 70% to it. The other good news is that we can actually run Adamant because Tornadus is always going to be faster than us. So we can actually speed creep something like the Incineroar, which actually is slower than Golden Go. So let's go ahead and actually speed creep the Golden Go. Need 150 to do. Like I said, we can go max attack Adamant here. And then we can do the same little shuffle that I was doing before to give ourselves maximum value out of the rest of our IVs. Next, this should be pretty easy. Spiky Shield. And of course, Follow Me. And then Ivy Cudgel. And now we can decide what grass move we want to use. Let's go ahead and bring up actually a bulky Azumarill. Bulky Azumarill with Adamant actually does have a very decent chance of just dropping to a Horn Leech. So I think I am actually going to choose Horn Leech as our final move here. It's really nice for moments where we do get something like a Terra Ground or Terra Water Pokemon in front of us, and then we're able to just Horn Leech that Pokemon, get a bunch of healing back. If we get back to full, we actually get our Sturdy back, which does mean that Ogerpon becomes even more difficult to handle. So looking forward to that. The other thing to mention is that with Terra Rock, Go actually does take a bunch of damage after Terra. Assuming that it's not weak to Ivy Cudgel, it actually does take roughly 90%, so just a little bit of chip damage will get Go in range of a Terra Rock Ivy Cudgel. So Ogerpon should be blowing a ton of holes in our opponent's team, which is really nice to have, of course. Now we have 2 Pokemon slots left here, and a lot that we can do with it. My mind is immediately going to a Pokemon like Squawkabilly that can use Final Gambit to try and take out a Pokemon here. There's not really an important target here. Let's see what Electabuzz' HP stat is. It is low enough where Final Gambit can take out that Pokemon. There is also an argument for something like Alchemy, where if our opponent is not leaning too heavily into Go, Alchemy actually does have a pretty decent matchup, where we can potentially get Decorates off for a Pokemon like Ogerpon or Iron Crown, which would be very difficult for our opponent to handle. There is also an argument for Haxorus, which will be able to use things like Earthquake against our opponent's team, which, because of how strong Terra Ground on Iron Crown is, you'll know is actually really good into our opponent's team. And then, of course, we also have Grafaiai as an option. Let's go ahead and bring up Grafaiai. Let's see what we can do with this. So a really interesting move to actually use here might be Fling. Fling is another move that gets rid of your item, which should activate Unburden. And of course, being a dark type move, it should be pretty solid into Go. Might be a little bit niche, but it's honestly kind of funny. And then Low Kick is also a really good move for hitting Incineroar. Of course, we'd rather be hitting it on the special side, but if all of Grafaiai's best moves are physical, then we can't do anything about that. And then there is also the ability to use Parting Shot, since we are thinking about a Unburden set rather than a Prankster set, so Incineroar and Co will not be able to be immune to that. I also like the ability to use Acid Spray to drop something special defense. Yeah, let's go ahead and use Grafaiai. Let's look up items, effect, Fling. So we can get a flinch off of something like the King's Rock or Razor Fang. honestly, that is probably the best option here. So let's go ahead and give our Grafii the King's Rock because we are Empire, and we are going to go with the Unburdened set. Let's go ahead and go Protect, Fling, Acid Spray, and then we could use Acrobatics, we could use Low Kick here, or we could use the Parting Shot. I'm going to go for Parting Shot here, just because I think that it is our best option. Let's get to 150 to outspeed the Golden Go, and then we will, I think we want to just make ourselves bulkier. So let's go ahead and do that. Give ourselves additional physical bulk. And then the Terra type for this Pokemon. Honestly, it doesn't matter too much. Let's just go with Terra Ghost, in case this Pokemon will be operating outside of Psychic Terrain so that we can dodge Fake Outs. Alright, and then finally, we were talking about a Pokemon like Haxorus, Alcremie. Again, either one of them doesn't really matter because we have a pretty contained strategy in our first 4 Pokemon that honestly I don't think we're going to have to change from. I actually don't mind Alcremie. Like I said, if our opponent is not centering a strategy around Make It Rain and Golden Go, Alcremie can actually be pretty deadly. This also gives us a little bit more deadliness to our Trick Room. I think I also kind of like Aurora Veil, or Aroma Veil, sorry. This will allow Pokemon like Indeedee and Talonflame to not be taunted, which is obviously really nice. And then we are, of course, going to be going with the Citrus Berry. The Terra type here, let's go ahead and just go for the Ghost. And then probably just want to bulk this thing out, especially physically. Let's actually see if Alcremie can actually live a Make It Rain. That might be good enough, actually. And then let's look at a Pokemon like Azumarill, which is their strongest in my opinion. We also live a move from Azumarill. And let's see about Incineroar. How much is this Pokemon doing to us? Flare Blitz does not do too much, so let's actually bulk out specially. Drop our physical attack a little bit. And then I like Protect on this Pokemon, and of course Decorate. Now we can also use moves like Fake Tears. Acid Armor is interesting, but no Body Press to use with it. Light Screen is also not bad. I also don't mind Charm or Baby Doll Eyes to lower the attack of certain Pokemon. I guess we'll just go with Dazzling Gleam as our attacking move. And like I said, we just need a final final move. Yeah, let's go ahead and go for Baby Doll Eyes. This does lower, I believe, both Pokemon's attack, if I'm not mistaken. But only lowers one Pokemon's attack. But it does lower it with priority, if I remember correctly. Check. Yes, it is with priority, so that is also really good to have. Yeah, I mean, that's all we really need. So that is going to be the team for our week 2 match, rematch versus Tensor. Like I said, I might make a few adjustments to the team overall. I'm feeling pretty confident in Iron Crown this week, and I'm really excited for Iron Crown to really show off why it was so heavily sought after by me. So hopefully you are looking forward to that, and hopefully I see you in the games. Be sure to keep cheering on your Manchester Bewares, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.